Thanks for joining the WealthRabbit podcast. My name is Charles.
And my name's Jason.
Thanks for joining us. Where we're going to talk about retirement.
We're working on a tagline.
Not
on this first pod. We won't have it now.
We'll get smoother as we go.
Yeah.
The wheels will get smoothed out.
It's great to be here.
Yeah. Thanks for...
Producer. We need to mention producer Caleb in the background.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We also have...
master editor.
Producer Caleb. How you doing, Caleb?
No, he can't talk unless we...
okay.
Well, you did ask him to talk, but in general, he can't speak.
We got Caleb here. He'll chime in if there's an emergency.
If we ask him to.
Yeah. Sounds good. Mm-hmm. So what are we here to talk about, Jason? We're here to talk about all things retirement investing.
Retirement, investing, money.
Finance.
I'll give life
Accounting,
advice. Whatever you
romance,
want.
Family planning.
whatever's on your mind, Charles.
What are we talking about? Sounds good. We really got to.
It's Christmas week. I don't know when we're launching this. It might not launch until next Christmas.
It'll be one of the nights of Hanukkah for sure. Right? I mean, does it?
Hanukkah corresponds with Christmas this year. So
it lines up perfectly, right?
Yeah.
So
very exciting.
The first night is Christmas night?
Yeah.
Okay. January 2nd.
Basically when Jesus gets circumcised. That's the end.
That's the end. Is that the traditional? Is it 8 days?
Well, that's why Christmas is on the 25th and then New Year's. That's because in Judaism, that's when you're you start your life when you're circumcised. Because back then, if you made it to 8 days, you had a good chance of living. So I bet you didn't know that about the calendar.
That's a fun fact to start with. I think
non-money related.
We're going to need to have one of those for every one of these episodes. Yeah. It's a really good way to start there. All right. So we're here to talk retirement plans. As the focus is WealthRabbit. As the co-founder of WealthRabbit, one of your primary concerns, areas of focus is the area of retirement planning. People use a lot of different words to describe it. People may use the term, people may hear about 401ks, IRAs, simple IRAs, pensions, things like that. People use these terms interchangeably, but they're all very different things, but they accomplish a similar goal.
That's right. I would say the first thing, it's why do we need money? Or why were these things set up?
Oh, hey, yeah. Let's just go back to the very basics.
Let's go back to the very basics.
So we like money.
We like money. So why were all these retirement plans set up by the government? Basically, back in the day, if you worked for a company, you'd work there your entire life, and they would take care of you. You'd get a pension. You wouldn't have to worry about if you're. It's kind of like the teachers now. You don't get paid that much, but when you retire, you get a pretty good pension. You get Social Security. You're probably okay. But as companies shifted in the 70s and 80s. And some of these plans are before that, but basically our entire economy shifted and the companies stopped taking care of their employees for retirement.
So let's talk about that. So you're talking about the general, you're saying the oldest method of these discussed was the pension idea.
Yeah.
And so the pension, let's define that a little bit. So the pension is the company that you work for is literally paying you into your retirement.
Yeah. When you retire, they would give you basically an annuity where based on, there's a lot of different formulas, but however long you worked and how much you were making, you would normally make that salary after you retired. Right. So you're making, I'm just making up a number, $60,000. They would pay you $60,000 a year after retirement via a pension. That way you could continue living. Right. And all that was good. Yeah. You worked for the company took care of you. We've shifted way far away from that, where it's it
seems like an enormous burden for a company to be able to do that. The only people that would be able to do it would be really large institutions. Yeah. Or companies that are just doing exceedingly well.
I think if you look back then, CEOs weren't making 100,000 times more than their normal paid employee. Right. It was set up in a way
the bulk of the company's profits were going into their pension plan.
Yeah, I wouldn't say a bulk of it, but I would
higher percentage then.
Everyone was getting a little bit less to benefit the greater good.
Gotcha.
And the employees were important. You took care of your employees. And then the same thing, your employees were loyal to you. They would work there 30, 40 years.
Right. There'd be all the more reason to stay in that particular
role. I think the best employers try and do that now with these other type of retirement plans. But as we shifted and shareholders got more involved and they want more revenue and we've shifted away from that pension model.
Right.
And
because if you left a job with a pension, that didn't transfer necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, there's rules involved. Like if you have a certain amount of service, you get a certain amount of pension, blah, blah, blah. But we've completely shifted. Like there's almost no company that has a pension plan anymore. That's very, very rare. Like it's basically the government.
Just the government. And they have a little bit of an advantage because they print the money.
So we need a way for employers or employees, like they're the ones who kind of got screwed here. They don't get a pension. Like we need a way for them to be able to live in retirement. And I think we've seen like the numbers, like over 50% of people have no savings, like at all. Like they're going to be living off Social Security and maybe nothing else. So that's a big societal problem. So the government came in, the 70s, 80s and set up all these plans that employers could offer in addition to a pension plan. 401ks, simple IRAs, 403bs, SEP IRAs, the plans that most companies use now. And that's kind of where we are. So to go back, it's like, hey, we know we have a big problem in America. No one's saving for retirement. Let's try and figure out a way to help with that. And what's the benefit for an employer? Well, for an employer, we want to retain our talent. So we want to have the best people. Like in order to do that, we want to help them save for retirement. So normally an employer will, if they have one of these plans, they'll contribute. It's normally 3 or 4%. Could be a little bit more, could be a little bit less, depending upon exactly what you want to do. It allows the employee to save money for retirement. It shows the employee that the employer cares about them, which is important. The government's also created tax incentives, so you get a little tax credit if you set these things up. You also get whatever you put into the employee, you get a deduction for that for taxes. So it works out well for both sides. And I think there's a lot of small businesses out there, and WealthRabbit is designed for small businesses, people with 100 or less employees. That's what we're going to call small business. If you have 100 employees, that's not super small. But most people using WealthRabbit will be between 5 and 20 employees. That's pretty typical. We want an easy way to set up a retirement plan. And there's a lot of options now. And we'll get to kind of some of them in a second. But we've designed one for simple IRAs. There's others out there for 401ks or SEPs. Almost all small employees, you're either going to pick a 401k or a simple IRA. Like you shouldn't really use any of the other options. They're not the best fit for you once you get more than one employee. But there we are.
So would you say simple IRAs are a better option for somebody who is either just starting out or a smaller team, or they're just the lower cost option?
Simple is a gateway. It's like the gateway drug
to retirement planning. Where you get on the hard stuff.
So
what's the hard stuff?
It kind of used to be that way. I'm also a CPA, so I consult clients on what type of retirement plans they should set up. And a lot of times we'll set up a simple to start, to be like, hey, we want to keep our employees. We want to retain them. We don't want to, as employers, we don't want to defer. We don't care about the deferral as much. Like we want to defer some, but we don't want to do a lot. A simple is a perfect option.
When you say defer some, you're referring to taking company profits and kind of protecting.
So there's kind of two parts of the 401 or a simple or a 401k. There's what the employee contributes themselves and what the employer contributes for you. So if I'm an owner of a business and I'm starting up and I just want to offer an employer, let's say I'm a not-for-profit or something where I don't, whatever the business owners, like we're not super, it's not a big deal to match them out. A lot of times this is a tax play. Like, hey, we want to set up a 401k. We can defer $69,000 per business owner. Let's figure out how much we have to give to the employees to do that, and that's what we're going to do. We do that all the time. But if you don't want to do the full 69,000, or let's just say you have 20 employees and it's not going to make sense for you to do that anyway, a simple is a great solution. So simple, it's called simple for a reason. It stands for something, incentive match, blah, 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 blah. We don't really care about that. But it's simple because it's simple. If your employee works and is expected to make $5,000 a year, they're eligible for the plan. You normally do a 3% match if they contribute. So you're contributing only if they contribute. That gives some, puts skin in the game for the employees. So it's like, hey, I'm going to give you an extra 3% of your salary, which is very generous, but you have to also put in the 3% because you need to be saving for retirement too. So let's put it at least 6% a year into your plan. If you're making $100,000, that's $6,000. You're making 50, that's 3,000. That's a good start.
Yeah.
The earlier you can do that, the better.
Yeah, that's a big point there. The earlier, the better.
Yeah.
The youth is wasted on the young. You know, you realize the importance of these things when you're too old most of the time.
And the biggest thing you can do is when you're young, like as soon as you have your job, defer the maximum you can. Right. So a lot of people don't understand that. Like, yeah, your employer's matching 3%, but that's not the limit of what you can do.
Right.
You can put in $16,500 into a simple, or $23,000 into a 401k.
Yeah, I think people get confused about that. They think like, oh, they do 3%, so that's kind of like, oh, I should do 3%.
Like that's the minimum you could do, because that's the minimum you should do.
That's the minimum you should, just to
that's free money.
To take advantage of it.
Yeah, you're literally, your employer's being very generous, giving you 3%. Like, don't be dumb and not take the 3%.
Right.
Like, you should be able to afford that.
Right. So you should figure out how to make that work.
So the earlier you can start and max out, the better.
Yeah. Because I think people don't understand the importance of compound interest. Like, you don't even have to, if you start early and you're consistent about it, even if you're putting away a small amount, you'll be a millionaire into your retirement age.
Yeah. I mean, in general, like,
I don't have the numbers.
The market has gone up. The market goes up 9% a year.
Yeah.
Over the course it basically doubles every 7 years.
Yeah.
So you're going to double your money every 7 years if you just put it in good stuff in the market. And that's something that, like, at WealthRabbit, we've really designed our portfolios so that they're good stuff. They track different parts of the market. They're different risk tolerance. So, you know, if you want to put in $10 and if the market goes down 5%, you only want to be down 2%,
right,
then we'll put you in a less risk. But if the market goes up 5%, you're not going to go 5%. You're going to go up, less than that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you just put it in something. You don't want to put it in cash.
Yeah.
Because cash doesn't earn money.
Yeah.
It doesn't earn interest.
It loses money, actually.
Yeah. If you just keep it in cash, you're not, the banks are going to pay you a small amount of interest, but it's not.
You're losing purchasing power over the long run.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Whatever the banks pay, it's not going to be inflation.
So you need to be putting in, and I tell people as much as you can into retirement, because you're going to need it down the road.
Right. Yeah, you're definitely going to need to retire at some point.
Yeah, and if you and what's nice about these plans, it's like it comes straight out of your paycheck. Like, you don't see it. So, and it's kind of, you can get to the money, but it costs penalties and stuff until you're 59 and a half. So it's kind of in the separate account growing. And like every once in a while you look at it and then you see, oh, I've made all this money, and you don't really miss it because you're used to not getting it out of your paycheck.
Yeah. There's a saying, what is it? Like, you want to automate all good decisions. So like make if it's a good decision, make it easy to do and make it hard to mess it up. So it's hard to take it out. It's because you want it to be there. You don't want to be pulling it out regularly for some. And
not that we make it hard to pull out.
Right.
Like you can click three buttons and pull it out. But
I'm just speaking generally. And generally, you don't want to because of all the.
You definitely don't want to, because you pay tax plus a 10% penalty before you're.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about how WealthRabbit makes this easy for people.
So, WealthRabbit. First thing, so
where'd the name come from?
So, let's just start back. Okay. So let's just say, hey, I've decided as an employer, a simple is the right thing for me. Now you got to figure out how I'm going to administer that plan. Traditionally, before WealthRabbit, you had to sign paperwork, you had to mail checks, you got to get your employees to sign up. It's very manual. We've made it very easy. You go on our website, you say sign up, you have to fill out, your name, EIN, a couple other things. It should take you about 5-10 minutes. Then your account's set up. Then you press a button, put in your employees' emails. They get emailed their to set up their account. They're sent a questionnaire to figure out their risk profile. That's how they're put in their portfolio. And then you're good. You're set up. And then when you run payroll, you can either use one of our integrations to automate everything, or you can go in every payroll and like type in the numbers of the deferrals and click a button and you're done.
And you just ACH the amount over.
WealthRabbit does that for you.
WealthRabbit take care of that.
So it should take, I would say, 20 to 30 minutes to set up for the employer, and then every payroll run, it should take about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If you don't if you want to pay, we charge a little extra to integrate because we've got to, pay for an integration software.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what I would do.
Right.
Is I would have it completely automated.
Right. You don't want to have to be doing it every.
Yeah, and that's what we tell our employee, like as from the CPA firm. It's like, hey, automate. It's worth the extra $60 a month. It's not a big deal. And we want to be a low cost platform. Right now, we're charging $29 a month plus $4 per employee. That's that's not that expensive.
Yeah.
And it will save you a bunch of time.
Right. Fantastic. Well, this has been great. Thank you for joining us. Well, thank you for.
You're joining me, Charles.
Thanks for allowing me to talk to you.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for the fantastic information, Jason.
The WealthRabbit podcast is a production of WealthRabbit, located in sunny Rock Hill, South Carolina. WealthRabbit is the first digitized platform designed to make simple IRA management effortless. We're on a mission to empower small businesses to invest in their team's financial future without the headaches. No hidden fees, no complicated processes, just retirement planning made simple. Go to wealthrabbit.com now to learn more. The views and opinions expressed on the WealthRabbit podcast are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect or state the opinions of WealthRabbit. Comments and remarks on this podcast should not be construed as tax, legal, or other investment advice. Please consult your tax, legal, or investment professional. All investments involve risk. Past performance does not guarantee future results, including the risk of loss. Investments are not FDIC insured.